And for me, I think in my whole time at Ajax, that is the most special moment that I will never forget. It was just to go out on the field that day. From the entrance, the bus entrance, you could really feel the atmosphere in the stadium. From the warm-up, you could feel it. From the kickoff, every action, every goal, it's like they say, you write it in the times of history and you cannot erase it. I cannot forget all those, from the first goal to the second goal. And then I came in and we scored, I think the third goal or the fourth goal. And it just sealed everything. Everybody knew it was done. The third star was ours. And we got into the bus. And don't forget the Sphera fell off the bus. Oh.
So welcome to Sphera Connected Cast. I'm your host Christian, and today we're here with a very special guest. Like the commentator in FIFA used to say, Eyong Enoh. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me.
Definitely. I know you're very busy, so we really appreciate you taking the time coming by. You've been doing so many great things, and we really see you as an inspiration to the youth and also other professional football players. So we really want to talk about you today. To start quickly, the first question that we ask, who is Eyong Enoh?
Well, Eyong Enoh is a young Cameroonian guy born in Kumba. I grew up in another city called Limbe, and then I started playing football in Tico. Born from a family of 6. My elder sister is of late, and at the moment, with 5 of us, I've got 2 younger sisters, 1 older sisters, and 1 younger brother. And I'm just a passionate guy who loved football when I was quite young. And the dream of football took me to where I am today. And I always love also letting people know that I'm also a family man. I'm a husband to my wife, Benedette. I'm also a dad to 5 boys. And above all, most people like to call me a footballer, but I like to say I'm first a Christian who plays football. So my faith in God is very important for me. And those things really define who Eyong Enoh is.
Beautiful background. Thank you so much for sharing. During your youth years, you were scouted during a high school tournament or school tournament, and then you joined Littlefoot FC. Very interested. Can you share some of the memorable moments when, you were playing at Littlefoot FC?
Wow, you really digged in to get it. I don't think I've had anybody in the Netherlands give me an interview and brought up Littlefoot. Most people haven't talked about that. But I was participating in this tournaments which they organized during the holidays for under 13, under 14 kids. And I was at school at the time. In fact, Rigobert Song, Jeremy Jitab, Samuel Eto'o, they all went through this holiday vacation tournament, and they were scouted into what we call the Brasserie School in Cameroon. Is one of the most famous football development academies. I got fortunate to be selected. Wow. And, because I was captain in my team, so we won the cup. And from there, Littlefoot scouted me. But Littlefoot was created by this fatherly person, they call him Mr. Nook Produce, in my city, because I wasn't old enough to play at the first division level or second division level. And there were a lot of talented kids, but they couldn't play at that level. So he created this team where very young kids, young players, could come and express themselves. So I happened to find myself in this team, and it was a very memorable team because everybody there was very talented. That's how I got scouted into Littlefoot.
That's amazing. Amazing that people are there supporting the youth and giving them an opportunity, right? And this is also where you got your nickname Verón, right?
That's correct. You got a lot of surprises for me today.
Looking at Sebastián Verón, the way he used to play and also the way you were playing with your lower socks as well, you have a lot of similarities to him. But I remember you saying, I did my research, mentioning that they weren't calling you Enoh, but they were calling you Verón.
That's right. That's just about the 98 World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, in France. And of course, you do remember this World Cup with the famous goal from Dennis Beckham, which till today is iconic. But Sebastián Verón was one of those players I admired a lot. He was first playing for Parma, if I'm not mistaken. They won the Europa Cup, and he was signed to Man United. And of course, his way of playing was super, like so cool, so relaxed on the ball. But the changes, the ball that he would change from one angle to another, and I love that way of playing. So I think I picked up something from there, and I was just playing, and people just started saying, "Wow, but you play like Verón." So for me, it was an honor that people would compare me to Verón at that time. But I had to change that way of playing later on, because when I got to Cape Town, it was more about playing the triangles into small spaces, and you didn't have to make so much changes of the game. So I switched a little bit.
But he was also a very tough player, right?
He was a top player.
And you were also
aggressive in
getting
the duels, but technically on the ball, he was
Also.
it was a maestro.
It's a balance, right?
Yeah, good balance.
Amazing. And just looking more at your career as well, you are already playing the first division in Cameroon, and then also for youth national teams. And then you moved to Ajax Cape Town. But even before moving to Ajax Cape Town, you were in Cyprus, right?
Correct.
For a year. We really want to know the transition actually from playing in the first division in Cameroon and then playing for the first division in South Africa. How was it? Was it difficult to adapt?
Well, it was a bit difficult, I would say. I was already playing for the junior national team with a couple of my other mates, Stefan Bia at the time, and also one of my former teammates who is of late now. He just passed on, Landry Ngemo. And Alex Song also at the time. He was in Bastia in France. So most of the players I was playing with, I was playing local. Some of them were coming from abroad. And for me, I felt like, wow, I had the opportunity to travel abroad. Before I went to Cyprus, most people don't know I went to Burkina Faso.
Oh, wow, that's a good.
So that's an interesting one. So I was playing at the university game at the time, and I was best player. And you had this agent from France who saw me, and he was interested. So he wanted to take me to Lens at the time.
Oh, wow.
And so he was working in Burkina Faso with the federation, and he opted for me to play with a club there to get a visa to France at the time. At the end of the season, it was a bit slow for me, and I was like, I miss my family. When he said, call me back. So I went back, and they didn't call. So I got back playing with my first division club, Mount Cameroon. And later on, the opportunity for Cyprus came up, and I went to Cyprus. It was, for me, it was about, I knew that it was about time I explore, I go on an adventure, and I find my way. Getting out of Cameroon to play international football, for different people, the route is different. So for me, Cyprus was the first step after Burkina Faso. And I was the best player of the season that year. Then a Turkish agent called Mario scouted me, and he was close to a coach at the time in Cape Town, Ajax Cape Town. His name was Mushin Etogral. I think one of the most impactful coaches in my career. I went for trials there, and that's how I got signed for Ajax Cape Town. But it was quite challenging, because in Cape Town is the first time I'm exposed to real professional football organization. In Cameroon, it wasn't the same. In Cyprus, it was kind of amateur, but in Cape Town, they already had the structure, same thing like in Ajax Amsterdam, the system of play, the intensity, the training, the programming. It was all a bit new, but because I had passion to learn, it became easier for me later on.
Definitely, because you also mentioned before that around you during your youth years, there were also a lot of talented players, but you had the mentality. You really wanted to become professional, and probably that's also one of the reasons why your mentality really helped you to succeed, let's say, at Ajax Cape Town. And then you moved to Ajax, AFC Ajax in the Netherlands. You've had, of course, a great time there. You also played for the national team of Cameroon, of course. And now I want to talk a little bit more about your memorable moments, right? So you mentioned that qualifying for the World Cup with Cameroon was one that really stuck in your head, and also winning the third star with Ajax. But take us back to both situations you were in, how it was, what was the feeling, and for us to go back in time with you, how you were feeling.
Yeah, qualifying for the World Cup, the first one with Cameroon is 2010, was quite special, because it was happening in South Africa, and it was the first World Cup ever hosted in Africa. So again, and I played in South Africa with Ajax Cape Town, so that made it special in itself. But I didn't get to play the game. You know, when you're part of the team but not playing on the field, you're happy, but it's not the same feeling. So, but the second qualifier for 2014, Brazil, we were playing against Tunisia. We had played away, and it was 0-0 draw. and there was pressure to win in Yaoundé. And in Cameroon, to play the national team is no joke. It's like being under massive pressure. But the team spirit was amazing, and the atmosphere, the fans, and to win that game 4-1 in a very spectacular way made the day special. The celebration, just that feeling, you can't trade it for nothing. And that made it really special because there was a lot of commotion, too many arguments, there were too many things going on. And that particular match kind of calmed down everything. And I was very proud to be part of that team that helped qualify Cameroon for, I think, the 5th World Cup that we will be qualifying for. Now, coming back to Ajax, what made the Third Star special? What made it special was that when I came to Ajax, it had been probably about 5 to 6 years. Ajax had not won a title. Before then, we just won the year before the Baker, the cup final, and that was also special for me because it was my first title at Ajax. And now, Third Star, it wasn't just another, winning the title. It was going to put the Third Star on the jersey. I mean, this is a history making. When they think about the Third Star, they were going to think about me. Well, if they thought about the first star, I wasn't there, second star, I wasn't there, but the Third Star, and I don't know how many years it's going to take again to get the 4th star.
Definitely.
So this particular season was very interesting. Already we lost one of our best players. Our captain at the time, Suarez, had gone. Obi Emanuelson had gone. We had changes in the team. Frank de Boer came. And we were losing this game in 20 in the first round. And I equalized 2-2. Of course, most of those goals, I had also something to play in the game because Theo Jansen was making runs behind my back, so I took responsibility for that. So I was happy that I could salvage that game by coming back. And I think that played a big role because that one point, at the end of the final game, we were playing against 20 home. And 20 had to draw. We had to win. You can't imagine the pressure. Couple of weeks before, we just lost the cup final against 20. And we were leading that game. And towards the end, we lost. And that was a bitter pill to swallow. But I could see in the eyes of the guy, even when Frank de Boer spoke to us, like, we're going to win that game home. And everybody was waiting for that game. Like, if you were in the stadium that day, you could feel something different. Like, the whole stadium was full. It's like one of those moments that you can never erase in your memory. And for me, I think in my whole time at Ajax, that is the most special moment that I would never forget. It was just to go out on the field that day. From the entrance, the bus entrance, you could really feel the atmosphere in the stadium. From the warm-up, you could feel it. From the kickoff, every action, every goal, it's like they say, you write it in the times of history and you cannot erase it. I cannot forget all those, from the first goal to the second goal. And then I came in and we scored, I think the 3rd goal or the 4th goal. And it just sealed everything. Everybody knew it was done. The Third Star was ours. And we got into the bus. And don't forget the Sphera fell off the bus.
Oh,
so there were just too many things that made that day that was impossible for you to forget. And for me, it's my most memorable day. In fact, besides my debut, the day I made my debut, that day was my most memorable day at the club.
Oh, thank you so much for taking us back and, of course, sharing these memorable moments. And also something I think during that game, all the players were very focused, right? Everyone had the same goal, from people on the pitch, from people on the bench to the staff. Everyone wanted to win that game. And
for us, it was more like a revenge. 20 just beat us in the cup final. And it's like, you can't come to Arena at the time before now it's changed to UN Cruyff Arena and beat us. It's not possible. We have to. Besides, this is a great moment for us to get the Third Star on our shirt, and we all wanted to be part of history. Like you said, everybody was focused, and there was so much oneness for that game.
Great. Thank you for sharing. And as you know, every footballer, let's say human being, we face challenges, right, in our life. And you as a professional footballer, we want to know what has been some of the biggest challenges that you've had as a football player. A little bit also more to give kind of advice to the younger generation, right? Because you've had a great career, but sometimes people don't really see what the players are going through or what is happening in their personal life. So maybe you can share something, during a specific time that that was really challenging for you, but you overcame it?
Well, I think for someone like myself, I'll speak for myself. One of the first things is that those sacrifices you make, like leaving my family back, going to somewhere new that I don't know anybody, don't having your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, and you're all by yourself. That's a huge sacrifice that you do chasing your dream, and you can't take that time back. Sometimes it plays a toll in the way things go in the future, but that's one of the prizes, and I think it's a challenge. And just how you put it in perspective. Some people can't do that. They can deal with that being away from family, but when you're able to pursue that, then that's one big challenge hurdle that you can. Another thing for me was cultural difference. I moved from Cameroon. I found myself in Burkina Faso, completely different from Cameroon. The food, everything was different, and I took time. The weather was quite hot. I didn't know nobody again around. Everything was different. Then I find myself in Cyprus. Different food, different language. But for anybody, we probably would experience this. I want to tell you, my focus was always about my dream. Like, my dream was my focus. I was like, anywhere I am, if I focus on my dream, I can make it happen. And I got an inspiration from Samuel Eto'o, whose journey went to Europe the first time, but came back and then went to Real Madrid. And they didn't play him, but went to Mallorca. So he also, so his story was very inspiring also when I listened to it. So one of the first thing for me is like missing your family. Second is just the cultural difference. I also came to Netherlands, different language, different food. But again, my focus was always about the game. And another challenge is injuries. So injuries is another big challenge that you would face. And I experienced that at Ajax in around 2012 when I got injured on my knee, and it was the first serious injury, and I was out for about 4 months, and I was playing every game. And then when I came back, it was quite difficult to play. That can play a big role in your mentality, your confidence, and everything, especially if you're not playing again like you used to play. How to find your way back is also one of the things I do to help players, because I know that injury is both ways. So you have the injury physical, but you also have the injury that is mental. And so sometimes the player comes back physically, but he needs time to recover mentally, which is where his confidence really comes from. And if you don't get that time to play to build your confidence back, sometimes can be very difficult. And that's one of the big hurdles in the career. Another thing I would say is a big one is rejection.
Yeah.
You could be good, but not accepted by a club. So I was in Cyprus when I went for trials. The club that invited me, I did trials for about a week, getting to 2 weeks, and they didn't want me. So the agent looked at me and said, okay, we're going to go trials to another club. Second club, they didn't accept me. And we went to a second division team, not first division. And I did trials there, and they're like, nah, we don't want you, right? So you can imagine, among the players he took in his mind, I'm going to be the first one he's going to sign, because in my generation, I'm one of the best. Mentally, I'm ready. Physically, I'm fit. Why are they not signing me? He went to a third division, and they didn't sign me. So he was giving up now. He was like, nah, he doesn't know what to do. All the other guys he brought, they've signed. Just Enoh hasn't signed yet. And I said something to him. I said, don't worry. The team that is meant for me is going to sign me. And so he got a call, and the team that was second in the first division, they just got a player who was diagnosed of hepatitis B at the time in Cyprus. You couldn't play with that. And they need a midfield. They say, can you bring Enoh to just come and train with us? I trained just one day, and the coach said, I want this guy. And I went on to help the team win the league after 37 years that they had not won the league, and I was best player of the season. That is why I got scouted for Cape Town. So that was mental toughness. And imagine a lot of players who got rejected were kicked out of an academy, and they felt like that's it. So you have to overcome that mental hurdle to know that you're good enough. And wherever they value you, there you're going to make it. So I think that's one big one that, is a huge challenge. And I would say, how do you deal when you have a bad game? I've seen players that were doing very well, and then suddenly they had a very bad game. And everybody spoke so bad about them. And from that moment, they couldn't overcome that. They just started going down. And you couldn't recognize them anymore. And that, again, is mental toughness. That's one of the things that I do. So if you're not able to overcome critique and moments like that, your career can stop immediately. And again, in football, it's different. Now you have social media. Now you have TikTok. Anybody can go and make statements about players, write anything about players. So it's even more difficult now for a lot of players mentally compared to before. And fortunately for me, when I came to Netherlands, I didn't understand Dutch. So whatever they said, I didn't get what they were saying while I was in the field focus. But I think those are some of the challenges. That injury, you've got cultural difference, and you've got mental blockage, and you've got also sometimes maybe just family issues, or you have players who even love their lost one, maybe their dad, maybe their mom, and that, trauma hits them so hard that they're not able to recover and be able to play their football. So later on, I will talk about that, because that's one of the things that my company, 4Pballer, does.
Definitely, and I wanted to switch and go to that way as well. So thanks a lot for sharing all these experiences. I think also looking at you, you're very passionate about giving back to the youth, and also as mentorship. And you started a business, 4Pballer, and also you've written a book, How to Become a Professional Football Player. And it's nice to see like all your experiences, you really translating them in helping the youth. Where does the specific motivation come to do this?
So years ago, I left Belgium. I was playing for Standard Liège, and my contract was over, and I had a couple of opportunities to go to Russia, Saudi Arabia, but I wanted to move to UK because I wanted to be around my family. They were in Holland, and I was in Belgium, and that, of course, I could drive 2 hours or so. But this time, I wanted to get a club in UK and just build around my family. And so we had a few openings, and I didn't take all the other opportunities. And towards the end of the transfer window, of course, the UK window closes later on. And at the end, the club opted for younger players at the time. And so all the other opportunities I had just went. The windows were closed. I had to be home for 6 months. That was the first time I was in a state where I didn't have a club. I was not playing. And I started to think like, wow, the game goes so fast. Like, should I not be able to play tomorrow? What happens next? It's the first time I really started thinking about life after football.
Yeah.
But I could still play. I was still young, but it hit me hard. The reality of being home also hit me hard. How tough it was for my wife and the children to be able to, in my absence. Then I started to think, if I were to speak to my younger self, what would I say? Growing up, or my kids in my absence, I thought about, okay, probably I should write a book. I should write a book sharing my experience or sharing maybe principles that have helped me. Now I'm in a more balanced place. I'm in a more mature place. I've learned a lot. And so I came up with a book, Become a Successful Pro Footballer, the 4 Ps to a Successful Career. And the whole purpose of this book was to be able to come up with principles that can help any footballer, any athlete, any career person pursue success, but from a balanced place. Because at the end of the day, you can pursue success in football and lose family. You can pursue success in football and you don't know much about money. And so all the money you work for all your life, you lose it. You could also pursue football, have a lot of success on the field. People celebrate you, but somehow, some way you feel empty. You're like, I won all the trophies, scored the goals, but I don't feel fulfilled. Why? And so I realized that all these things are so important to put in perspective when you really want to feel fulfilled and successful. And that's how the 4 Ps came about.
Amazing. And looking at the future, how would you see that your business will develop in the coming 5 years? What is the main goal that you want to achieve? Do you want to have like in the end, a big academy supporting more players, let's say in Cameroon, or are you looking to expand maybe other countries in Europe? What is kind of the long-term goal that you want to have with the business? Also, there's a part 2 of the book that will be coming out soon. Correct. Very important to mention. Yeah. But what is the long-term goal that you have then now with the business?
Well, the long-term goal for me was to spread this message all over in Europe, in Africa, and help athletes, but also because I think it's not just for footballers. I think it's something for other people in other career. My goal is really to inspire other people to become the better version of themselves. Yeah. If you're a footballer, probably you're doing well in performance, maybe not in finances. If you could be doing well in performance, finances, but maybe not in personal development. Maybe you're doing well in finances, you're doing well in performance, personal development, but maybe you've not discovered your purpose. You don't really know why you're alive. So my goal is really to pursue people in Europe, in Africa, and all these different places to find these aspects of their life so that they can create balance. And I see in the future, speaking in academies, but raising a new generation of footballers that are really pursuing success from a balanced perspective. And I think that it's happening, but it's a bit slow. A lot of players are going through mental challenges, but they're not talking about it. So my goal is really to push, personal development is all about mental toughness, like we talked about, where you're not just thinking only how I'm going to train, I'm going to run, I'm going fast, I'm going to shoot, because that stays on the field. When you get out of the field, who are you? How is your life? How do you really carry yourself? Because football is going to stop someday, but life has to continue. Family has to continue. Business has to continue. So really my goal is to carry a message where a lot of others can start thinking like, I call them footballpreneurs. Yeah. Like seeing themselves like people who play for a season, and after that, how can you use that to be able to convert that into other things? My goal is to be able to mentor young players, those who are aspiring, those who are already active, but those who are also transitioning. Because from my experience, when I was in that phase where I wanted to stop football, I was like, where can I go to now that I want to stop football? To who can I go to talk about my transition? Who can help me through that process and just guide me, mentor me through it? And I was like, a lot of players don't talk to people when they're going through this. Who can they really go to? So I felt like I want to be that go-to person. I have my story. I can share it with them, and it can help them also become someone who can be a go-to person for the next generation of players that go through this whole. And of course, players are always in the spotlight. So when they go through things, they don't really want to put it out there because of the media and everything. They prefer to keep it. So I felt like, okay, for people that want to be that go-to place where it's confidential, where players can come, share their story, and they know, they are confident, they know that this guy's got their back and I can really guide them in the right way. So in the next couple of years, we want to have true 4P baller mentors all over the world. I also it's a crazy vision, but I think it's possible. And then through the book, I really want that knowledge, that consciousness to be in all the football academies so that a lot of young players can learn the lessons from former players and take advantage of it and become better in what they do.
So nice. Very inspiring. Definitely very good what you're doing. And we wish, of course, a lot of luck. And we will see how your business will develop in a positive way. And then let's transition more to something that we saw recently in the news. So it was very cool to see that 3 of your sons signed with NEC. How do you balance your entrepreneurial career, right? At the same time being a very supportive father and being there for them. Of course, this is a very critical time as they're still young, pursuing their dream of becoming a professional football player like the dad. But how do you balance this?
Well, for me to balance that, it means my way of balancing it is not separating it. So I'm not separating my entrepreneurial journey from what I'm doing with my kids because it's all part of it. It's all connected. In one of the leadership training I do is like in the middle you have the leader, and then around you have father, you have a businessman, you have a brother, you have friend, and all these things that are around. It's a roadmap. And in the middle you have leader. So how you lead yourself can affect all these different things, roles that you play, whether as a father or as a businessman or as a friend and whatever. And so I focus more on being a leader. How can I lead my kids as a dad? How can I lead myself as a businessman? And when I focus on the center, because the center is my personal leadership, that influences all the other. And of course, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less, just like John C. Maxwell says. And I don't separate that because I think it's all interwoven. The moment I try to separate it, then I cause a confusion. It's like I have to divide myself into two. And so I give my kids what I didn't have. My dad didn't understand my passion for football. My mom didn't understand. So it was a journey I went all by myself. Now I've got children or boys who are interested in football. Yeah. Then I have to be able. So I stopped football during the COVID. I stopped. I did it. I don't usually use the word retirement. I did a transition to life after football. And one of my primary mission is give the boys the support that they need, both as a dad, but both also as a former player, Should they need my experience, my advice, I'm going to be there to give them full support, helping them to achieve and pursue their dream. So I don't separate that. For people, it's all about mentoring footballers. It's all about supporting footballers. And I think my children give me the opportunity to be able to practice that at home before I take it outside.
So nice. You're very inspiring and very, I would say that, philosophical, the way you think. And then now that we're reaching more of the final part of the interview, I really want to know, what is the most valuable lesson that you've learned throughout your football career or your personal life, right? One that sticks out.
One of the key thing, it's one of the quote from Note K, and of course I will use two quotes. One of them is, hard work, big talent when talent doesn't work hard. I didn't grow up as the most talented footballer among my peers. I could see them. They had a lot of talent. I started late, by the way. Most of them started very early. I started a bit later, maybe from 11, 12, 13. Then I started to have interest in football. Previously, I loved dancing. One of my favorite actors at the time was Bruce Lee. So I was visualizing acting in a karate movie. And I also liked Michael Jackson, so I used to dance in dance competition. But we moved to a city where football was the majority of activity for young kids. So I couldn't be left out. So I joined in and I started playing football with them. And then I fell in love with the game. And when I put my mind on something, I'm 100% into it. So one of the things I've learned is that, one, your environment can influence the talents and the gift that you have. If you stay in the same environment, you may not develop it. So for me, moving to another environment brought out the football talent that I had. So that's one lesson. Maybe you have to change environment. Yeah. Second, if you focus and work hard on what you have no clue to what extent you can go. Nobody believed. The people who knew me before I got to that city, when they heard that I was playing in the junior national team, playing first division, they couldn't believe. They were shocked because, like, Enoh is a dancer. You know, he's a karate guy. How come he's playing football? Well, I just put focus on it and I just practice. When others slept, I went to run because I discovered that I had something and I could explore it and I could pursue it. So hard work indeed beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That again is a principle that will apply anywhere, anytime, in any place.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experiences with us today. It's of course a pleasure that you took the time to talk with us, share your experiences, give us the advices you have, also to show more about your entrepreneurial career. Nowadays, if people want to find you online, where can they find you?
Well, I have my Facebook page, The Real Eyong Enoh. You can check me on Facebook. I also have a normal account, Eyong Enoh. I'm also on the LinkedIn. You can just check Eyong Enoh and then you're going to find me. And on Instagram also you can find Eyong Enoh and then you're going to find me on Instagram as well.
So Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Correct.
Amazing. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.